So the story so far here in Almoravid, first year is completed, and the Christians managed to grab Toledo in the first turn of the game with a really lucky shot. They took Cordoba over the course of the summer. I don't know if it was here or here. And then, I think it was here, and then made a move for Jean to try to move over and take Murcia, try to basically subjugate Seville as a whole. It would be hard because Almoravid, who is the emir, caliph, I don't know. I don't think there's a caliph here. Anyone claiming that title. So yeah, the emir of Seville is kind of very active, and it's hard to knock out a city that's defended. What's nice about Toledo is there's no one there. Anyway, we did manage to take Cordoba under his nose and make a move for here. We didn't get lucky with taking that city and trying to capture more of Seville, of the emirate. And things went kind of badly. Alfonso had to disband. That's why he's over here. And the Muslims, Almoravid managed to summon both Abd Allah over here in Granada and Rodrigo, El Cid, to join him in Seville. He combined with El Cid and laid siege to Cordoba. I didn't play the Curious on the first turn of autumn, which is when that siege happened. I could have done that. It would have caused, for whatever reason, a ceasefire, which doesn't make any damn sense to me because it's a Christian curia. It's, essentially the Parliament of Leon playing itself out and everybody agreeing not to continue the fight. It only applies in this first year. It doesn't apply in the second. And the fact that the Muslims were able to mount a siege of Cordoba, in contrast, well, they just aren't able to prosecute that siege once a curia is declared. I didn't do that on the first 40 days. I noticed, I remembered the rule in the second 40 days and proceeded with that. It took me through the winter. The Muslims didn't have enough supplies to last them through the winter. They didn't have to supply their army here. Basically, nothing happens when the curia is declared. The Muslims just agree not to do anything, and then they maybe settle down for the winter if they have the supplies for them. The Christians had Jaén still under siege, and that was Garcia Ordonez in charge there. He couldn't last. He was way out of his supply range and whatnot. So everybody pretty much disbanded. And what we're left with is 1086 starting with Abd Allah as the only Muslim lord on the board. If he wasn't on the board, if I hadn't summoned him, the game would be over in a Muslim victory. Probably. We'd see. I would have no chance to... the only thing I would be able to do is a call to arms, which might be able to bring in Yusuf, and I'm not sure if it would. Yes, I would be able to bring him in, so no matter what, I wouldn't lose the game for not having a lord at the beginning of the year. But anyway, as it stands, I'm going to try to bring Yusuf in. There's no question of that. There's really no reason you wouldn't, even though, well, there might be. Let me retract that. I'm not positive of that. I think there's no reason you wouldn't. Even though the Taifa lords kind of didn't want to bring him in. They realized the danger of it, and if they could have retained a situation where they were still in power and maybe paying their pariah's coin, as long as the populace didn't hate it and try to overthrow them, they would have probably retained the situation that they were in. The seizing of Toledo, though, is a major thing. So maybe they would have called him in anyway, because it's clear a big hunk of Spain has just fallen to the Christians, to the Christian reconquest. On the Christian side, we don't have a hell of a lot either. We have Pedro Ansúrez up here and Sancho over here. That's not enough to stand up to Yusuf. On the bright side, though, I do have the capacity to call in the lords who disbanded over the winter, and Alfonso's available. So everything's available. If Yusuf comes in, Eudes becomes available a couple of turns later in order to give Crusader support to oppose the Almoravids. But I've got to tell you, the way the Curias work here, you can't conduct a counteroffensive with the Muslims, and that feels weird as all hell. I'm going to look at the errata and see if I'm missing something that really should be there. So there's nothing that will help this situation that I experienced. There is a rule under those play balance changes, not under rules corrections, which I really ought to go through and make sure that I get them right. But, there's a full fucking... There's basically 2 pages of errata on a single PDF in 2 columns. It's painfully large. Now, at least half of it is the play balance stuff. The play balance ones say that the Christians have to do the Curia. They don't get a choice, which kind of makes sense in the concept of, if the Christians are rolling, if they're doing really well, they could gain too much. Like, it would have been possible if I hadn't suffered a defeat here at Jaén or whatever, that I could take Murcia or something like that. Or maybe even Seville, although without the surrender and with a powerful lord there, the Muslims would have had to screw something up, right? Now, in terms of victory points, obviously the Christians are well ahead in points from the Muslims. So maybe those play balance requirements should be in place. But to be honest, not getting the victory point for this Curia was a mistake. The Christians should have done the Curias and forestalled any Muslim counterattacks entirely. And, okay, those counterattacks didn't help the Muslims, but they had a shot at winning Cordoba back in this turn, and they didn't get that shot, right? And I feel like something's very wrong there surrounding those rules, in the sense that I pressed hard with my Christians, and that's why they were too weak to stand up to Almoravid and El Cid. Anyway, it's time for me to go play some raid. I probably won't be back down here tonight. As happens, it's been a while since this has happened, but I'm unable to sleep. Here it is, daylight, and I'm awake. It's like 9:30 in the morning, and I get an hour here, an hour there. I want to look at the Curia rules again to see maybe I missed something, because I know they're designed... Okay. So the conditions are designed if locales, not the Taifa box, have more total yellow Christian conquered plus ravaged markers than green conquered plus ravaged plus jihad. So they're designed in a way to say, hey, if the Muslims have the power swinging in their favor in some sort of way, the conflict continues. And it doesn't feel like they captured that, right? They don't capture the actual initiative, which I felt had swung in the Muslims' favor. The Muslims would not have accepted a peace under the conditions, under any reasonable sense, under the conditions that we saw. And this should have been triggered back here. Back here, it wouldn't have bothered me as much. It bothered me a lot when it hit the next turn. So the must rule would have kind of affected things. But It's quite possible, you know. I mean, the Christians captured a lot of stuff, but the Muslims were going to retake it, you know. And I don't know. All right. Enough of that. Let's start with the new levy phase, and this is going to be kind of exciting. And I gotta reshuffle my decks. You know, it's kind of funny. I was just shuffling the cards, and look, I've been trying not to let this kind of crap invade my videos as much as it used to, and I think I'm doing an okay job with that. But it just came back to me, you know, when I'm doing the riffle shuffle. My wife used to kind of make this big deal about, oh, you shuffle professionally and stuff like that. Just you know, in a silly sort of way. There's maybe 20 times a day, and that's because I blot my mind out from everything else. That, like, just something like that hits, and it's just this like little bit of pain that makes me have to hide my brain, you know, not do something like shuffling cards or something, or doing dishes or whatever. Anyway, let's draw. Genoa and Pisa send fleets to harass Al-Andalus. Place ravaged at 2 unravaged enemy ports where there are no Muslim lords. Okay. The only enemy right now is down here at Granada. And let's look for port symbols. I'm expecting to see them here. However, I'm not sure that I do. It's this little boat here. Okay, so yes, these two have them. So that will give the Christians yet another victory point in total. I should recount these, make sure I've got them right, because they look extreme. And the other one, Berbers, Arab and Slav mistrust. Shift service of al-Muktawakil, Abda Allah, Yusuf, or Sir by 1 box this levy. No muster of or by any of them. Ooh, I think call to arms does specify that they are mustered. Alma. Okay, so it's service, not, I'm trying to remember. This is the service marker. It's not the disc, right? Let me just make sure. Let's see if we have service on here. This isn't going to help. Lord Vassal rating marker and advanced rule. 1.5.1 is the marker. I'm pretty sure it's just that thing. 1.5.1. Cylinders. Service marker, yeah. Okay, so cylinders are the other thing. All right, so that's going to be this. It's going to shift back to here. Right? Abda Allah is on there. And it says no muster by any of them. And if we look at call to arms, it is muster Yusuf or Sir from ready. Seer. So I'm in trouble. I can spend a coin and keep Abda Allah in the game, but the Muslims are not going to get their quick reaction that they would have liked. We go to their card draws. I think they're in trouble. Hills hold, may play if defending in battle. Muslim slingers are bonus. The Christians had one of these, still do, I think. Ahmad ibn Rumayya, Ascetic faith of Cordoba, Faqih of Cordoba. Play in Taifa with Yusuf Sir or Al-Mutamid to remove conquered from empty town or add to jihad. Not city, so I couldn't clear one of these. Anyway, I do not have Yusuf Sir or Al-Mutamid available anyhow, so no big deal there. All right. Pay. Let's take a look. The Christians are on the board for a long time. I'm not going to spend any of their coin. They're fine. Abdallah, if I don't spend his coin, the game is over. Probably should just spend 2, because if the Christians could get down to Granada and take it out, I'd be in real trouble. But right now, this is where we're at. So I'll pay that. Nobody disbands. And now the Christians get to start mustering. We're going to want to gather forces. There's no question of that. So I will try to figure out what I want to do. The most important thing to me right now is get Alfonso back on the board. Luckily, he's automatic. Sancho is going to spend one of his musters to bring Alfonso into play. And I'll put him here. And I'm allowed to bring him in at any of his seats. I believe that includes the cathedral is no longer his seat, because he doesn't have cathedrals anymore. How about that? There goes that victory point. That should be gone as soon as he left the board. That should have left. Okay. Again, I got to recount those. Cathedral's not his seat. However, Burgos and Leon are. I'm going to start him at Burgos. I don't really think I need to do anything much with Sancho, so I'm going to roll for Alvar using Sancho's other die. Mainly because Sancho has almost nothing he can do, unless and until the Muslims are showing up in Zaragoza or Loreda. There just isn't. So here I need a 1 through 5. And we get that as well. So Alvar is also going to show up. I ought to, oops. I gotta start this job. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And Alvar is also going to show up in that same spot. Now Pedro is more interesting. I want to look through the cards and see if there's anything I want to give Pedro. In addition, he might need more resources. But the key is, I can muster from Toledo or even Cordoba as friendly locations. So there's no real hurry here. But let's see what I can get. That comes in mind is, again, this each levy remove up to 1 jihad from a locale where no lord of either side. This tended to be a useful thing, but this is only for Alfonso. I think the other one may have been any player. I'm just looking. I also think I do want to make a roll for Garcia. So let's do that first, because if I don't get a 4, I'll use my other muster, my other lordship point to get him. Alright, we're going to bring him in as well. Just make sure we got everybody. Find anything incredibly desirable. Now, I'm going to have to cross over some of these paths. So you might think mules make sense, but the problem is I start off with carts. Yeah, a mule can carry 1 provision across that path, and if I time things just right, maybe I'll be fine. What's the disadvantage of mules? Mules eat. Let's check my food. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But I would be increasing the feeding requirements for either of these guys if I threw a mule. Well, for this guy, he's the only one who has anything left. If I give him a mule, I'm going to give him a cart instead. I check his levies, he's fine. So that's all my points. I didn't see a card that I really wanted to play. I don't want to bring my vassals into play yet until until I'm close to the action. And likewise, I don't want to commit to cards. If there was a general card that was going to do something cool, that would be fine. We go over to the Muslims. They're not allowed to do any muster. And that shifts us down to the call to arms. Each side, by the way, unlike most games, I'm covering all the functionality in this. In part because I'm not entirely comfortable with what I'm doing, which is, the same thing that was happening with UPOP and that happens with some Euros and whatnot. I feel like I have to follow this long list and present it all. I could give you the sweeping overview of what's going on the same way as I did with the tactical games like Talavera. But I feel like I'm making the same decisions again and again in Talavera. Okay, I'll move this unit this many hexes, I'll move this, where it's just completely uninteresting. Where here, I feel like every one of these decisions is kind of key. Yes, I could give a summary if I was more comfortable. And there goes a FedEx truck that's not coming for me. All right, let's look at the Christians. There's not a green Rodrigo on the map. We haven't lost anyone. We can't muster Rodrigo, and we can't muster Eudes. The Muslims could muster Rodrigo if they so wished. I would need 3 coins to do so. I don't have that. So, actually, no, I can't. He's out here. Okay. Yusuf and Seer. Well, I could muster them at this point. They're ready. But I'm prevented by this. Oh, wait, maybe it is coming here. Probably going across the street. I'm not expecting anything by FedEx, but who knows? I got tobacco coming. And therefore, we are done with the levy stage here and on to the campaign. I'll put some dice here just to remind me. I'm going to stop there. I think I'm going to do a little yard work. I don't know why it's down here like Warrior Knights. I was looking at my Euros because I'm down here, and I'm not always down here, right? And the problem is I can't remember what I've played and what I haven't. For the most part, with the board game, the war games, I do remember what I've played and what I haven't. And in some cases here, I can look at something and say, I played this, I can remember videoing it. In some cases, I can say, I don't remember whether I've videoed this or not. And it's really, really kind of troublesome. Now, especially things that I've played before, but I'm not sure whether or not I covered, It's very, very disturbing. I'm kind of in the mood to do a Euro, but I can't think of one. I will go look at my list on Board Game Geek of things that I haven't covered yet, and it's huge, so I can't really sort through the whole list. It's like still, it may be a little under 500 now that I haven't covered, because I've been covering more than I've been buying, finally. But I'm left with this horrible sort of, there are things that maybe I want to explore, maybe I don't. I don't know which game I've covered. On the other hand, I look at the list of the things that have the highest rankings that I, every now and then, maybe once every 2 years now, go through the whole list and collect up, what those ratings are after I've played a bunch of games. And I ended up, people looking at me. I ended up, I see one, and it's something that was on my mind anyway. And almost everything that's on that list that's highly, that has a lot of thumbs, is something that is from the wargaming side of stuff. And equally have in my head a whole ton of war games that I have not played yet, that I haven't videoed yet, that I've played, that just, can jump in my mind at any time. Whereas I look at these, and maybe a couple of the XXs, I don't know. I guess I can probably guess with a lot of the games, but there are quite a few. Like I'm looking at this China. I think I covered it, but I don't remember. Maybe all I did to play it was cover it. Maybe that's all I ever did. I don't know if I covered both of these. I know I did one. Likewise, Union Pacific. I think I covered it. I know I've played it a few times since I got it, but I just don't fucking know. And there's other stuff I just really don't have a great concept of whether or not I did them. Wow. Well, I did all of these. I've got to get these sorted somehow. They're currently just a mess. But the other thing is, I noticed that I got things in here that I kind of feel shouldn't be in the Euro pile. I know I saw something recently. Source Denial, it's not a Euro, but it's also not a war game, so, it's where it belongs. But, I don't even remember what I was looking at. But there's a lot of stuff like Battlestar Galactica. I kind of feel like that's a semi-war game type thing, Just have a whole bunch of these that are like, I don't know. How different is Space Corps from the Stellar Horizons that I played recently? Cosmic Encounter. Kind of fighting. Why is that down here? It's really kind of a confusing mess to me as to what goes where, especially since there are war games that I have that are just card games or something. So, why is Suzerain here and Mystic War when, up front, sure, up front is attempting to simulate. I can make that kind of argument there, but it's just so weird to me to look at these things. I'll have Dune upstairs. There's no question of that. I have Game of Thrones down here. How different are they in terms of war game-ish materials inside them? And then things like, and it's not just by company, like Shanghai Trader. Well, Panther, the other game they put out is the Chinese Revolution. Why am I doing all this? I don't know, because I want to avoid doing that yard work. Unlike the last year, this year the Christians need to gather their forces together. They were already all prepared and set off at a jumping off point, and there's nothing that allows you to get yourself into position automatically like they were. I find that kind of weird. I don't know. I find it odd that they were set up already. But anyway, we're sitting on 4 different lords. Now we have our marshal here, and we can operate him as primary, but we want to gather some resources, make sure we have enough food, etc. To travel. So let's take a look at our leaders. Alfonso doesn't have room for more food at full movement rate. Alvar, who's with him, is also full up. I got an extra food possible here with Pedro. Garcia is full up. So let's get people moving. Let's do Garcia first. He'll be moving only to here at best. So that's not really great, but I can pick him up with Alfonso on the way in. Alfonso can move 1, 2. All right. Do we want to move Pedro on his own? is kind of the question here. I don't think so, because I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 with Alfonso, and I can pick up Pedro on the way. I can also pick up Garcia on the way. I just have to move Garcia first. So let's put in Alfonso next. That's 2. That gets us 1, 2, 3, 4 down to here with our entire force now. Did Garcia have an extra food space? No, he doesn't really. At this point, I've moved everyone. I've moved Garcia twice. He's out of food. I don't know if I want to gather food with Garcia particularly. It's just kind of an issue. Like, he only gets two actions, so he's not great, and he doesn't have a high food production. Whereas, for example, Alfonso, with all the carts that are going to be gathered here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 will be here. All the carts that are gathered here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It only takes 7 carts for me to gather 2 food. So it's probably not a bad idea for me to activate Alfonso again for food. But Alvar might be a good choice as well. Let's see what I've got. I've got no food here anymore. Pedro's down to 1. Yeah, I think I'm gonna fire off an Alvar in between the 2 Alfonsos. Now I've gathered food, right? I'm at 4 of my cards. I've got 2 more Alfonsos that I'm going to want to play. That'll get me up to 6. Is there someone else that I want? I can cross the mountains and move my way down. Is there someone else I feel like I need to play? Well, I mean, I can always play Sancho in order to get his coins. Sancho's kind of in a stupid position being on the board. I kind of wish he wasn't. But he was still on the board at the end, so he re-upped. And I don't really like what's up, but he's got a long time before he fires off, so I don't actually need to play him. So I'm going to play another Alvar, and I'm going to slip that in here. So that gets me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The reason for that is I do think I want Alvar to do a supply move over there. Now, I was keeping these guys here, and I think that's going to work. I'm not positive. I didn't fully calculate it, obviously. But I calculated the beginning of it, and I think I'm going to be able to get somewhere down around Cordoba and have a reasonable force. Now we're going to deal with the Muslims, but let me stack these cards and think about them. They're not going to have much to do. I might just be grabbing taxes because I don't think Abd Allah has the capability. He had no muster. That was the problem. I don't think he has the capability to like try to take Cordoba back. Cards are much, much simpler. He has 3 cards and 4 passes, and it's just a question of what order I want to do them in. Nothing's going to happen for the first couple turns, I know that. I'm going to put an Abd Allah after that. I'll put this, and put another one there, another one there, another one there. The reason I'm alternating is I can't be absolutely certain that I'm not going to be threatened right away. And so we're set and ready to go, which means we get to open up, and I get a Garcia. We knew this. Nobody's got any special capabilities or anything. Garcia has 2 movement, and that's it. I cannot tax. Well, I could. I could grab a food. I don't want to yet. I'm going to move only 1 space and grab a food and feed. Let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't really care, but he's 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So everybody's at feed 1. That's what I wanted to make sure of. I think I checked that before. So that's his move. Come over to Abdallah. He takes a pass. Now we hit Alfonso. Alfonso doesn't want to grab food. He's going to grab his entire force and move 1, 2, 3, 4 down to here. That was the plan. Everybody gets a move fight marker. And we'll figure out the feeding rather soon. Abdallah passes again. We get an Alvar. Alvar is going to do a feeding operation. Now I have a ton of cards here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can reach my headquarters, so for all 4, I can grab food. And now I have a lot of food for the whole army. Go back to Abdallah. I'm going to tax. That's pretty much what that card was for, although I could have gathered some resources instead, but I feel like I'll do that later. Come back, we get an Alfonso. Let's check our food, because I was planning on using this turn for Alfonso to feed, to gather food. So I have 2, 3. Well, I'm going to be traveling over mountains, so I have a lot of extra space. So yeah, I'm going to gather food. I get 2 per, which means I can grab 8 food. Can I carry 8 food? I have 1. Well, I don't know. Let's count up my food in my carts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 transport capability. That gives me 18 traveling laden. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gives me 10 spaces left. I'm going to grab a full 8 with Alfonso, because I know I can carry all that. This is going to be another pass. We get another Alfonso. It's time to move. I have 4 movement points. 1, 2, 3, because that's pariahs, yeah. 4. Everybody gets a moved fight. No, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, because we're laden. Okay. And that puts me in a kind of nice place, I guess. It's not a seat, so it doesn't matter too much. It was. And now everybody's got to eat all food. Hope I didn't take one from Sancho. Go back. We get an Abdallah. I have a command of 3. I'll grab 3 provender. I've got to burn something at the end of the turn anyway. We get an Alvar. Ooh. Alvar is not good for anything except grabbing food. I'm in a friendly location, so I'm going to grab the best I can, which is 4. Let me make sure I'm okay. 7, 15, 16. I had 18 capacity if I travel laden. This isn't great, because I could move here for just 1. But now I could come down 2, 3 to there. It would be very advantageous to me if I take Seville, because that would mean that Al-Muqtabar, or whatever his name is, I don't remember, Almoravid, would not be able to muster. That would be a huge bonus if I could take Seville. Chances of that are low, but because I've got to do it before next turn. Oh well. Remember, I only have one lordship, so I only get one muster attempt at him. However, I think he's pretty good. Yeah, he's a 5 out of 6. So, yeah. So we grabbed food with Alvar, flip another pass. This is the last card? Guess so. They're both. Alfonso gets to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we all feed. This is somewhat problematic. I would have liked to have ended here so that I could supply more easily. Otherwise, I'm going to have to move and then supply, and that doesn't get me as many points. But we have to eat. I owe 1, I owe 2, I owe 2 so far, I owe 2. Who do I want to take from? I'll take from Alvar. I don't have to, but I have to take 1 from each of these, and that gets me to the end there. And then finally, Abd Allah, I'm going to tax again. I just can't think of anything better to do with him. I mean, I could go off raiding and get some points for that, but I'm just afraid of what's going to happen resource-wise. You know, the idea of gathering victory points that disappear from ravaging and whatnot just doesn't feel all that valuable to me right now. And that gets us to the end here, where we have wastage. Okay. I eat a mule. I don't have to eat anything from him. Alvar, get rid of a provender. I can't, and this is important, I can't discard a provender off someone else. You know, he had to lose either a coin, a cart, or a mule. Those are the only options he had. He doesn't have a card. And then Alfonso will, of course, take a cheap provender, because I don't want my transport to be reduced, although I probably don't need as much as I did before. All right, and for Abdullah, I have too much of everything. I am going to discard a provender, because again, I don't expect to do much with him, but we'll see. Towards the end of the campaign, it's probably worth dropping down some of those ravaged markers and whatnot. But here, they're going to go away here. So, they're points I'm not really going to get to keep. And that'll move me back to the levy stage. Put these here to remind me, and that's it for this little bit. A couple quick thoughts before I actually go upstairs. One is, the game is not all that long, even the full campaign. Sure, my videos take a long time, but I'm explaining each action that I take, right? In addition, I'm rolling out the combats. Of course, that's part of the playtime there. But what I'm saying is that there's no downtime that you haven't been seeing. I'll change that. I'm not gonna fight out the combats in front of you anymore, I think, because that's just a waste. A lot of die rolling and shit. And I can just report the results. Hey, it was a tremendous victory, whatever. However, I do think there's some value to the thoughts that go into the campaign actions, and then everything's so damn interactive, right? The only thing that is eating up time that doesn't get shown on the video is when I'm considering these cards. And I basically riffle through them all. It takes about a minute, you know? And then once I have a set of ones that I'm interested in, yes, I do talk about them. Maybe I won't anymore, but yeah, that's to give you an idea. You know, you could probably get this done in a sitting once you're familiar with the game and comfortable with it. Even the full campaign, I would say, a long day of gaming. something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah. So some of that, some of the, and I mentioned this before. There's something in me that wants this to be bigger. You know, I just feel like the level of campaigning that I'm taking and the amount of abstraction that's in it, I feel like there should be something that's larger than this 2 years, right? Now this is a key 2 years, but I gotta tell you, there's interesting stuff happening on both sides of this. And it's just like, wow, I want it to go like 6 years or whatever, you know? In a way, and this is something with the Levian campaign and its historical accuracy, really, is that, at least at this level of detail, not all that much is really happening. I'm working really hard puzzling out things to get these guys into position and whatnot, but they're just not, there's just not like a huge amount of stuff going on in this. And because of how abstracted it feels, or how little I'm kind of doing, and the kind of games I'm used to, I just get this feeling that like, oh, I should be playing out, several more years. We're looking at what amounts to really 2 campaigns, right? The first one that took Toledo, and then the second one that kind of Yusuf comes on, scares the Christians back a little bit, and doesn't really do a hell of a lot. Just kind of, I mean, they fight a major battle, but that's about it that happened, And it's like, I'm comparing this to other games that maybe only take a couple of years of real time from other eras, where there's a lot more going on and a lot more detail in the representation. Here I feel kind of like, I do in, well, things that I don't have down here. But, I'm thinking about some of the CDGs and stuff. But then I think about Volko, and, Wilderness War is not a huge game either, right? But it covers the whole war. And that's kind of the feeling of the difference. But you can't cover the whole war. The war is, well, you could. It would be a much, much bigger game, and it would have a lot more going on. Like, these characters wouldn't be your limitation and whatever. You would have, their children and whatnot in it, and all kind of shit like that. So, but I am intrigued and want to draw into something a little bit deeper than this, and have, replacement leaders and stuff in cases where somebody gets killed. Well, maybe they don't come back, but maybe they do, actually. But in the course of a 2-year campaign, it's perfectly fine to say, yeah, somebody's going to sit out the next year. It's not perfectly fine to say that they're just gone. Like, are they dead? Are they being ransomed? So there'd have to be a whole lot more to the game to make that work. Oh, I should count up my points. I'll do that and come back with a quick report on whether or not I have them right. The Christians right. I thought I was way off with them. I forgot to count the pariahs points, but I do not have the Muslims right. They're only at 5.5. So I've got 5 here and a half for a ravaged. For the Christians, I have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's where I got it. And I'm like, whoa. But no. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, which is what I have recorded here. We're all good. Say, wow, the Christians are really kicking ass right now. And yeah, they are. I don't know if they have different victory points in smaller scenarios. Like, so we're looking at the biggest one. The one thing I want to look at here is, say, how many victory points are supposed to be in the typhus box, and there's less. So this accounts for, that whole first year of problem at the very least, I think. Got 4. Prius Wars, early 1086, we're at 4. Oh, this is, here we got 6, which was the starting for the big one. Here we've got 4, here we got 6, you know. So they're kind of the normal victory point modifiers for things. So I kind of think that the play balance issues are not just who wins the game. I think they have to do with the Christians are likely to do better than they did historically if you don't take those into account. Let's take a look and consider some of them. The ones that I remember, the coins, they weren't going to change much of anything. Although I could have put a pool of coins in here and had more to play with than I have. So, you know, for example, I had people leaving the board with coins on their mat, which should not have happened, right? There should be more wealth sitting here. And that was really not understanding what was going to happen with the curious, with the disbanding early and all kind of crap like that. So that would be one thing. There would be more. There should have been some coins in here anyway. There might have been more, probably would have been more had I had that. I wasn't really like having leaders disband that I didn't want to, due to not having the money available. So that wasn't really an issue, and that's really what coinage is for. Anything else that really affected them? Don't believe so in terms of that. Over here, there was a big deal. One huge thing, which was Alfonso started out with the battering ram. That gave me the chance to take Toledo a little faster. I don't think I would have had I wouldn't have been able to take Toledo with that, without that. But I'm kind of worried that I wouldn't be able to take Toledo, period, without that. I mean, I got very lucky to take it on turn 1. I kind of feel like I would have gotten pretty lucky to take it on any turn, like just through a straight surrender, which is kind of historically what happened. So by fiddling with that, I'm almost worried that you're going to get an ahistorical failure by the Christians to be able to exert their power into Toledo. Now, obviously, you could delay and not make the attack on the first turn at all. Wait until you can get that card, and maybe the cathedrals as well. But geez, man. The other funny thing is the cathedral card. This, I believe, only works if Alfonso is in the city. I am not going to look it up. Well, maybe I will. Let's take a look at that. Now, he doesn't start with the cathedral card, remember. Alfonso at a conquered city may place a cathedral seat. Historically, what happened was while he was away, they converted a mosque to a cathedral. Which, in terms of like how the card is triggered or whatever is a little different, but what are you going to do? The fact that it happened, that the card has to be taken into effect while he's there, you can just say that's a little bit of an abstraction. Once he leaves, they might choose to do it or whatever. But I believe from the historical notes that he was not in the city when it happened, and actually probably engineered not being in the city so it could happen. Like he didn't want to be held responsible fully, but he was, so it didn't really matter that way. But in terms of in terms of play effect, in terms of matching the historical, it should kind of not require him to be there. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm right on the victory points. And how do I feel? Well, in terms of what got advanced, yeah, I would have been slow if I didn't have the battering ram. I probably should delay a turn here, not advance on Toledo, and take it the next turn with the same lucky shot. Now again, it was a lucky shot that I took it, but without that battering ram, you have to assault it, and we saw how assaulting worked. It was not pleasant. I think we did assault Cordoba, but we had our entire force there. What we wouldn't have been able to do easily is take Toledo by surrender and then have enough forces. So if we had to assault Toledo instead of taking it by surrender, we wouldn't have had enough forces to take Cordoba. But again, Toledo was a lucky shot. I might have had to assault Toledo, in which case I'd be in that same position. So I don't know. Crazy about all of this is I just kind of did the rap halfway through the game, didn't I? Well, we'll see how the other half goes. So now we're about ready to start another levy. Me on very little sleep. I don't know how much I've gotten. Maybe 5 hours total, where I should have gotten 8 or whatever you're supposed to get. Now, I looked again at the winter stage just to make sure that you don't get cards or anything else, because, and there's no indication, but if you look at the Alfonso and the Almoravids, which starts on turn 9, like the first one of the game, Alvar Fanez starts with the Garcia Jimenez card. Everything else is just their normal stuff. But it does seem a little weird. Now, it's possible if they were in a siege to begin with, is Alvar in siege already? He's at Burgos. I don't know where Burgos is. It's not his... Oh, no, it's his capital, yeah. So I don't know why he would start with cards. And I don't think any of the other people do. In fact, like Alfonso's at Leon. Sancho's at Jaca, which is not this. Yeah, it's his capital. Yeah, I don't have any idea. But it always troubles me when you cannot get the starting position of a scenario by playing the campaign game. And there's no indication that you can get this here. I think I will check the errata again and see if there's something special in the winter. I don't remember seeing anything like this, though. There is not. However, what there is, and it's too late because I've already passed, is a replacement on this turn 9. Like the first turn, you draw capabilities instead of events. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, I guess, because it's the beginning of your new campaign and whatever, which could get you kinda to that. Anyway, let's draw our events here. Surprise. This gives me 2 Siege Storm the Walls at a bonus. What else do I have sitting here? Okay. And also, remember there was an event that screwed with Abda Allah and could have, like, made it, that kind of event could make it so you lose the game on it. An unbesieged Christian Lord immediately musters 1 Crusader. Eudes, if unbesieged, he's not. Okay. So, we had this happen before. I grab a Crusader, Who do I want it with? Yeah, good question. Well, I don't want it with Sancho. He actually can go with Alvar without raising his feed quantity. So we'll put a couple of other knights there with him. And that's pretty cool. Drop that on top. And then over here, Leon de Castilla, shift service of Ansueras, Ordonas, Fanyas, or Rodrigo, one box to the left of this levy, no muster by any of them. Ansueras, Fanyas, Ordonez, so only Alfonso is going to get a muster, and I get to pick one of those that I screw, and I will screw over Fanyas with his better value, but that's not a huge deal. That's one. Second, Christians immediately feed two of their lords not at friendly gardens or a seat. We are not at gardens or a seat here, so the Christians have to pick to feed two of these lords. That's going to be essentially two food coming from this overall force. I'll take one from Fanyas and one from Alfonso. I probably should just take two from Alfonso, but Fanyas is overloaded in terms of he has too many provisions for his card as well. So it kind of doesn't matter. Okay, now we can pay. I see no reason to pay anyone. If I had loot on hand, I would consider it, but I'm not in the right place. So screw that. He's got to pay though. So that coin that I took as tax goes away, because otherwise I lose the game. Yeah, it's a good reason. Okay. And now disband. Nobody's at a disband stage at this point. Muster. Huh. Well, the Christians are screwed because I ended my turn here. That is not good. I should not have done that. So the only mustering I have is Sancho. He gets two. I'll definitely take a mule. And I'll look through my cards and probably pick him something, but nothing's terribly useful for him. Here's a useful one, bishoprics. It allows anybody to take it, and it's actually not assigned to a lord. It's add one bishop each as a ready vassal to up to 3 Christian lords other than Sancho. I don't know if Sancho can pick it. I would say no. I would say no. I know what I was going to take. I was going to take the same one I took before, which allows me to do raids. Abdallah. I don't know. I kind of feel like mustering Seville is just kind of asking for problems. What I'd like to do is maybe muster down here. But let's look at those lords, because they're numbered. So, not Abdallah, Almoravid, who has a much better chance of coming in. So I could bring Zaragoza in. That would bring Sancho into play, but Almoravid could take a shot at causing problems over to the side there. Almustain, not Almoravid. What am I just woke up from a nap. Do I want to go for that? Or do I want to go for the better Almoravid and just say, you know what, the Christians aren't going to be able to take him if he's in a city? Let's go for Almoravid. I think he's just too valuable to not pick up. Alright, so I get him this time. And he'll show up here. Get his golf. And we'll fill him out in a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. He still stays on the chart there because remember, he can move left. For the other one, I'm not really expecting to do a lot of movement on my own, but like if I call Yusuf, he only has 1 mule, which is problematic. So I'm going to need more forces on my side. And my provender is kind of low. I'm going to grab another mule. I know I don't like taking mules, but I'm going to do that. This might have been useful. Let me now call to arms, I think is where we go next, because we just mustered both of ours. Okay. And this can go away. I'm not going to need it anymore. Rodrigo, getting to play with Rodrigo or Udays, no. Pay 3 coin for Rodrigo, no, he's not available yet. Muster Yusuf or Surf, I'm ready. Play seat, Udays to calendar 2 boxes ahead, or if they're both ready, I could add a victory point and a jihad by shifting them a box to the right, which doesn't really hurt me. Getting a victory point each turn sounds pretty good. However, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would get me to here. Of course, I'd have the jihads as well, which would be 3 more. 1, 2, 3. I wouldn't be in the lead. I need to defeat the Christians to get the lead in this game. So, and what are the victory points supposed to be at this point? Taifa should only have 4 of those. Box 8 is yellow. Where's the green? Oh, box 8 is yellow and green. So yeah, so the Muslims and Christians are actually tied in the scenario going into Yusuf coming in. So I'm just way ahead. I absolutely need him if anything's going to happen. So now where does his seat go? It doesn't give me a number. So I'm going to have to look at call to arms and see what it says. Invite the Almoravids. You know, in written, both in Hebrew but also obviously in Arabic, you leave out the vowels. But I always just leave out consonants when I'm speaking. Place the single seat marker for one of them at Algeciras and automatically muster the Lord there. Okay. And that's over here. So I look for the seat for Algeciras, which I'm sure I'm mispronouncing. And he will show up here, and I will fill out. He actually doesn't come with any extra troops, but he comes with one hell of a big army. And he's a marshal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put him out there. And nobody's mustered any of their subordinate lords. I really was supposed to get here so that I could raise my army. I don't know why I didn't manage to. That's really troublesome. I mean, I certainly had the movement to do so. It's just, why am I not there? I don't know. I fucked up is all I can say. And U-Days also shows up here. U-Days is able to summon Typhas and bring them in during the call to arms. Look at that army. It's got a feed times 3. I don't have a lot of provender. It's going to be hard to operate effectively, but anyway. We'll consider it a victory if we get Cordoba back. We have some new types of troops in place. We have African horse, which I don't know. Missiles, javelins, all of that lowered in any one round marks ×1 battle. That is the same as something else, right? No, not by capability. Okay, so we have javelins. Let's put a javelins marker there to indicate that. Just so I remember. The African foot has bowmen. Let's just take a look. So I've got a ×1 javelin, 1 shot. These are just normal javelins. They're unarmored, but they have a capacity for evading. Light horse also have this and are even better at it. We haven't seen an open battle, so it didn't happen yet. The African foot are lightly armored. Now they have, I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be. Shields or something. And they automatically have their own bow equipment with them, which most of the infantry, you have to have a capability for that. And then, of course, I have some militia and a couple of sergeants in there who are just normal, nothing special at this point. So that's them, and I feel very stupid. Again, I took a nap. That happens to me. So I think I'm going to hold off because I will fuck up royally if I continue. U-Days is over here. And what was the other option I had here? If I didn't want to bring them in, muster them for, if they're both ready, I shift them to the right. Yeah, I can't bring either one in to get that advantage. Now, Seer also has a big army. He isn't a marshal, and both of them only have a 2-point command, so they're not the equivalent of like the Christian lords in terms of their activity and their capabilities, which is a serious issue. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get Cordoba back, because really all the Christians have to do is garrison it with someone. But we'll see. I went upstairs and immediately, I still had the errata open. I peeked at it. I was looking, I don't remember for anything in particular, but I ran across something for cathedrals. There's really a long list of stuff. There's basically this much, maybe more, this much text at least, in terms of, how it is. It's 2 columns, looks pretty tightly packed. It looks tighter than this, but it's hard to tell when you're looking, on screen and whatnot. But it definitely looks harder to read. So I would say the point size is a little smaller, but I'm not sure. Very, very dense. Not spaced out as well as the rule book is. It just point after point after point. And at least this much, maybe a little more, is these balancing conditions. Then there's like a section of actual rules corrections, which I'm like, that's about the size of the errata you expect in a game, and then a little bit more of stuff, having to do with the playbook, where they got maybe, some information wrong or whatever, which whatever. I wish that wasn't even in there or on a separate page. But yeah, so there's a pretty big list of errata, and it's very, very dense and hard to cope with. And I considered penciling it in, and then I'm like, yeah. Well, one of them is the cathedral card. It can't be played in the errata until Yusuf or Sur is on the board. Now this one I absolutely know is historically inaccurate. Now again, we were talking about the cathedral card before. Well, Alfonso plays it and has to be there, and that's all wrong, and what the hell is going on there? And I mean, it was an event that caused unrest. The unrest is taken into account on the card. This was one of the things I was planning to do if I was in Cordoba. Now, I got kind of screwed because I got that cannot muster card, which would have prevented anyone but Alfonso from mustering anyway. But everybody's in a non-muster location, so wow. Kind of lucky. But anyhow, the event that caused the unrest that's accounted for on that card happened during the last year's campaign, during 1085. After Alfonso took Toledo, not right after he took it and left, okay? And it was one of the factors which instigated the lords to call Yusuf in. And now, for play balance reasons, now again, I think it's for play balance because the Christians do too well if they have it. That seat is a very, very powerful advantage towards pressing deeper, right? I mean, I wouldn't have Cordoba if I didn't take that seat. Even though I didn't need it to muster or whatever, I needed it as a supply source because Alfonso could draw supply directly from it. No one else had anything where they could draw supply. They could get supply here, but then once they moved out of there, they could no longer trace back and draw. Only Alfonso could draw supply, so he became a vital part of my attacks. But anyhow, it's like the game has historical stuff baked into it that's supposed to work historically, and now some of these tinkerings around the edges and whatnot to create a more historical, the more important aspects of the game, I guess, which is the way the Christians are able to expand and whatnot, no longer link properly to what the event actually is. Like, I'm fine with the idea that he gets his seat, that he can only get his seat there, or could only count it as a seat or something after a certain amount of time, but it's just all screwed up. It's all screwed up. Because you can only get that card after Yusuf's been mustered, which means you can't get it from your initial draw. You can't get it as a capability. Well, you can, but you can't use it. So you would only be able to use it here, but then it would be in effect if Yusuf's brought in. But if he's not brought in, you're not allowed to create that further southern seat. And that seems wrong because the big threat was that, the Reconquista succeeded in Toledo, and now it was pressing down into Seville. That was the danger. You don't call Yusuf in if Seville's not in danger, right? I really don't know what's going on with that, but the fix that was put into play disturbs the shit out of me because it means the events aren't, tied to what they represent anymore, and it causes everything to make a lot less sense to me. I'd be a lot happier if they had done something else. I don't know what. Because, this is clearly bad, right? The fact that the Christians got to Cordoba. But, again, I feel like I got very, very lucky to get that, right? I really do. I feel like I got lucky in Toledo, and then the attack on Cordoba, you know, maybe I had like a 60% chance of getting that once everything was set into motion. And all the problems the Muslims were having in terms of not getting anything. And then only the stupid curious law rule prevented me from losing Cordoba. Because I quite likely would have lost it to Rodrigo. There was probably about a 60% chance that the Muslims were going to retake it. Just like there was a 60% chance that Alfonso could take it. And there was not a damn thing the Christians could do to stop that. If it weren't for the stupid Curia rule being able to say, hey, the Muslims go home because we're holding Christian parliament. I really feel like there's too many things broken in this. And could I fix them? Yeah, The Muslims should be able to say, no, you can't do that. Or go ahead, but I'm still sieging your city. Right? It's unreasonable that they would accept any kind of ceasefire or anything like that, given the situation that we were looking at on the board. And that's not represented at all in the game. And now the fixes that are being put onto it break things even further. Right. First I thought I had to feed, but I'm not sure I do on this. Like, I don't know if I need to draw supplies. I have 5, 6, 7 supplies. That's enough to feed my army and have some left. So at least there's that. Where do I want to park is the question. So if I can move, I can start off with Alfonso. 2 moves into here, 2 supply draws, and then feed my 4 food. Then I need to draw supply again. And Alvar is my best choice for that, because he's got the full 4 commands, so he can do that. We are in spring again. After that, I'll have a fair set of supplies. And then the question is, what am I facing? What I think I can do is push to here. I'd really like to have ended a campaign season here so that I could have put the cathedral in play. Without that cathedral, life is just going to be fucking painful. But I feel like I have to conquer this or deal with Yusuf. If I'm going to move in to conquer this, I think I have to I have to leave somebody at Cordoba. Who's the best choice there? Well, again, I would have liked to have mustered a card. Of course, I wouldn't have been able to muster anything because of the Leone Castilla. Alfonso would have been able to, which is all I really needed. I would like to gain this. So I should leave somebody behind. The best person to leave behind, honestly, Pedro with his lighter units is probably the best choice. So let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Which means if I'm supplied up at that point, I move Alfonso into place. And again, I don't have any siege capabilities either, so this isn't going to work very well. Should I grab more supplies? Well, I don't know. Alfonso moves me 2. He has 2 actions he can take here, which will be supply actions. So that's 2 supply. That would put me at -2, so I'll be at 5 provisions left, or provender left, after Alfonso's move. Alvar brings me up to 9. I've got a bit of a problem because I've got Pedro here. who I was going to leave behind. Pedro has gardens. If I'm going to be attacked, I need a Pedro card in here. So before I move out, I'll put a crappy Pedro in. I don't like this. Okay. I can ignore everything else. I said I was at 9. I have 2, 3, 4, 5. That's really all I can carry. So I'll put an Alfonso in to move me. That'll eat 3. That gets me down to 6. And I'll have set the siege up here. After that, I need to siege twice more, really. And that will eat up all my food. So I need a supply run. So there's a supply run. That'll get me 4 food. Alvar has the most troops. That'll get me 4 food. Siege. What am I at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all I get. I don't get to put any coin on Sancho, but that's okay. I think I'll be okay with that. I have a surprise card, so I might be able to grab this quickly and move on, and possibly into Granada. All right, on to the Muslims. This is more complicated. This is kind of reminding me of writing orders in like the CWB series or the NBS that I did recently. Because by the time I figure this out, I know vaguely what I'm doing, but I don't know precisely. But anyway, what is our options here? Well, Yusuf has no food. That's a problem. He's at his seat. It's going to be hard for Yusuf to get coin. We're not going to need any passes, I'll tell you that much. It's going to be hard for Yusuf to get coin. Almoravid's in play. And yeah, I was going to look at these and see what I have there. And Yusuf's in play. Oh, Yusuf has 4 cards. He still only has a 2-point command rating, though, which sucks. It really does. Alfonso is very powerful. And this makes Rodrigo so valuable to the to the Muslims because he's active, like really active. Okay. Yusuf has no coin. Does he absolutely need coin? No, Almoravid has a pile of money. So let's say I start, well, first of all, let's look at these. I have severed heads, which will be useful. Very useful. Especially if I end up being able to fight against them. 2 Taifa Lord cylinders by 1 calendar, or use for lordship +2. This would be useful for Yusuf. Useful for Yusuf to give him more command. On the other hand, it could help. Well, he's so far ahead now that I don't need it there. Arid terrain, I can cause problems to them. Play in Taifa with Yusuf Serum Almoravid to remove conquered from empty town. See, this is a city, not a town, so that's not an issue. There are no conquered towns. Okay. And this has been converted, so I don't think it counts. It does not have a conquered marker. All right. Yusuf needs to go. He needs to either collect food or money, and I think we're going with food. 2 is all he can carry. Jeez. He sucks, man. I don't know. You know, he could grab 1 and move here, and then he'd eat the 1. Just so shitty. Almutamid. Almutamid can gather food. He'll be very useful if I'm if I'm moving together. In order to move together, we need Yusuf. So what if I use Yusuf to just move here? Then he can feed off Almutamid. That's fine. Almutamid doesn't have food yet. Okay, so I grab food with Almutamid first. That'll get me 3 food from his stronghold. Yusuf will eat 1. That gets me down to 2. We go up to 5, and I'm overburdened. 6, 7, 8. I'm fine. Yusuf moves to launch his siege. That'll use 3. So I'm now down to 5. Now it's not that big a deal because I can trace food whenever I like with Almutamid, which is kind of nice. We're at 2, 4, 5 cards. Al-Abda has coins, so I'm okay with him right now. Or Abda Allah. So, I don't know what we're doing. Supply, move, supply, maybe a move too. I'm not sure. Where's Abdallah? I don't need him. I think it's this. Supply, move, I eat. What am I at now? I was at 3. I'll be at 2. Supply brings me to 5. I needed to get up to 8. But again, I have easy supplies from here for Almutamid. So I'm at 5. Yusuf moves me. That brings me to 2. That's not good. Need to get it back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more cards for Yusuf to launch the siege or to expand it or extend it. But I'm rather, if there's a garrison there, I'm not going to be able to get it to surrender. So that means we're set. No lieutenants to be placed at this point. What else is there? Dinars. Unbesieged Taifa can deposit coin into the Taifa box. That is not Yusuf, by the way. Al-Mutamid could be getting killed here. I'm worried about Abdallah being... I'm going to put all 3 in. I'm not expecting Al-Mutamid to be besieged. Is it possible? It is possible. I'm going to leave him with 1 coin. He doesn't need it. He's so far ahead. Yeah. I'm going to make sure his 3 coin are in the typhus box. That doesn't work for besieged people, but that's fine. So I finally started putting money in there. We go to the commands. All right, I'm going to take a little pause. If I can even vaguely remember what I'm doing. I flipped the first card. It is an Alfonso. How fed am I? I'm fed up, that's what I am. I have a lot of provender with my army. Not so much that I'm overloaded, though. Well, I'm crossing... Yeah. How many mules do I have? That's the interesting question. 1, 2... Yeah, I can't carry everything in mules. Okay. So, it's going to take me 2 of my moves to get into here. I'll grab 2 food, which goes here. And I will eat 1, 2, 3, 4 food. Okay. That's his action. Now, on his way there, did I want to fuck with him? I actually want to fuck with him. I'm going to make him eat 2 more food because of the arid terrain. just to screw with him even more. So that 2 extra food would come. It doesn't really matter. Take it from there. Okay. Not as impressive as it could be, but as he was moving, I wanted to make sure he ate more food so it would slow him down a little bit, because I'm worried about him being besieged or whatever, and I know that it would be problematic. Now, you can play this game, and I've mentioned I'm already playing it with these screens covering all your lords, and then you have, I don't know, different artwork on the inside. It doesn't really mean there's nothing of interest on the inside that is useful. You could position the different lords, you know, in arrangement according to where they are in the screen, but you don't have to. Okay. So now we go here, and we have Almoravid. Well, Almoravid needed to grab food. That was the key here. He can only grab 3. And that's his action. What do we have sitting here? We have a hills, we have a couple of combat cards, but then we have the surprise for the fortress. All right. The next one is an Alvar. Alvar needs to collect food with all 4 of his. That was the plan. And he can't share that food. He can't, like, give it to Pedro, who I'm leaving behind. I hope I programmed Pedro in like I intended to. We get a Yusuf. Yusuf is not burdened in any way. Oh, he eats 3 fucking food. Okay, he gets 1, 2. He has a moved thought. He eats all of Almoravid's food. I think I miscounted that. I thought he only had 2 there. That puts me back. Pedro. Pedro wanted to gather food as well. You'd think, now this is not that big a deal, because I could have done it after I'm sieged, so I'm not in that big a hurry, but I'm kind of like, well, if they want to attack, I want my whole army there. Almoravid's next. This is awfully crowded. I don't think I want to attack the entire Christian army at once. However, if I don't move, I got problems. But I also don't have any food, so I will gather 3 food here. I got real problems with food, because Yusuf he eats so much. They should call him Yusuf the Fat. It's an Alfonso. All right, the plan here was for Alfonso to move into here at 1, but I need to gather materials first. So if I gather 3 food, I have another Alfonso. Maybe I don't gather 3. I have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Okay. So I can only actually gather 2 food. And then it costs me 2 to move in here, unless I had a card to play. Remember, I have a bonus card over there that allows that. I'm going to drop the siege marker in. Am I going to storm the city? I think so. I'm going to play the surprise here. I've just marched into an enemy stronghold where there's no lord. Placed 2 siege there, not 1. That's a big deal. And put the moved fort there. And then storm the walls at -1. The walls will be at -1. So the walls are at 3. This is God knows what. I think it's a town. Town is 2 and 1. Alfonso. Now all of these are in there. But Alfonso is my lead, and these guys are there. I am going to roll up the attacks. I'll come back at the end, or very close to the end, when maybe if something exciting is starting to happen. First round of combat, Alfonso took no damage. We did kill off a militia. I get to bring somebody else in. Who do I want to bring in? You know, Alvar is more powerful with those 3 knights. This was really dangerous, actually, attacking with Alfonso with so few troops. Alvar is definitely more powerful with his 3 knights. What does that mean for attack value? That means 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I've got to bring Alvar in. I kind of don't want to because I don't want him to take losses. I want that powerful force to be a possible storming force somewhere else. But I don't think I have much choice. Oh, I screwed up. I did the weakened walls initially. Oh well. That militia might not have been killed, but the second round did not take the castle, and there were significant losses to Alfonso and his force. So we check Alfonso's man-at-arms there. He dies. And we'll check Alvar's gray for the sergeant. They both die. Not a good result at all. And now the Christians have to eat. What do they have? I think it's 3. 6, 9. 1, 2, 3, I guess. Alfonso has to eat from himself. And that's the end of a very, very bad round. However, Yusuf goes next. One. See, I can hit Seville, but that doesn't really do what I need. What I need to do is bust these guys up. However, Seville kind of closes everything off. If I come down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that doesn't sound very likely. Can I beat Pedro and the garrison of Cordoba? The nice thing about Pedro is he's got a lot of unarmored shit there. Do I have anything that'll help me? I think I've got to take the battle to him. We are not laden by any means. So I'm going to gather 1 food. I move in for 2. That puts a siege marker here. And I have to feed the 2 armies. That eats 4 food. There it all goes. This is not going to work, right? Let me get rid of these. But the other alternative didn't look plausible either. And coming back around the river just did not look easy at all. All right, back to the Christians. We get another Alfonso. How is my food supply with Alfonso? Well, there's not a hell of a lot I can do about it. I'm ravaging here. I at least have a reasonable amount of food. I am going to do a siege action. Alfonso rolls 3 dice. I roll 1 die. I need a 3. I need a 3. And the city surrenders. I don't get it. It is move fight though, so I have to eat 3 food. And that's at least 1 off Alfonso, and I guess 2 off Alvar. However, we do get another one of these, so next time will be easier. What about Yusuf? I could have bypassed and then I could launch the attack. I can still launch the attack. Doesn't really matter that I did siege. Okay. Well, let's see who we get. What? Let me make sure. There's 2 here. There's 2 here. That's right. Almoravid's next. Almoravid can't gather my army. I need food. I can't do a siege action, and I don't think an assault's going to work. I'm just going to gather 3 food, coming with a supply action here. Okay. We might take a risky move here, but that cuts my supplies. But that is life. All right, back over here. Fanez. Fanez has a 4. I think the only thing I can do with Fanez is to make a roll. 1 through 4, I take the castle, or the town. I do not. No rerolls or anything. We have to eat 3 food. We're now out of food. But we get a 4th one of these, and that makes this very, very likely whoever draws the next one is going to capture the city. But we may have problems after that, right? Oh, we get a Yusuf. All right, I think Yusuf's going to abandon the siege and launch an actual field battle. We haven't done one of those. We are not laden. We move in. 1, 2. Everybody involved is going to be moved fought. And it's time for me to look at cards and start setting up this battle, but it's going to be kind of impressive. Okay. Christians have 2 cards. Wow, I shouldn't have been holding this. I may need the battering ram. This one would aid defensive missile users. I don't have any. There aren't slingers unless you have the card for them. And likewise, the baggage parapet, I could use that as needed if there is a camp attack, but that's a specific card. Let's look to see if there's any cards here. It's a defensive. This, if we win, good stuff happens. Everything else I wouldn't be using, but I could use the severed heads to, I don't know. It doesn't really help much, does it? It could shift 2 Taifa Lords, 2 boxes. It can be any, which would be useful because this guy is close to running out. But he's not. I don't know where he would go. He'd go into the 17 plus box or whatever, I guess. I mean, he's already 2 turns past the end of the game. So this end of the game marker, the game ends here. But on the other hand, I could also throw a couple of jihad down. I could put 4 jihad down, which is a couple of victory points, which is worth something. The biggie here is winning the battle, relieving the siege, and then figure out what to do from there for the rest of the year. So, how do we set up a battle? I'm used to these sieges. I'm not used to setting up a battle. Players array their lords involved, either cylinders on the battle map. Side may have a lord in each of 3 possible front positions. The active lord must start front and center. So there's Yusuf. The attackers then fill in the front, left, and right. I'll put them to the left because that's the order they have in. And the defender can place us however he likes. Now, is there any limitation? One directly opposite each lord, and then the other will be in the reserve. All right. Alfonso is going to go in the reserve because he's really weak. Alvar and Garcia, I'll put Alvar up against Yusuf, and I'll put Garcia here. There were no cards going to come into play. We fight the normal battle situation. We got some different kinds of critters here. But the first thing that happens, the sequence is a little different, right? So first we do defending missiles. There are none. Then we go to offending missiles. Well, I have javelins and bows, but I have javelins on my African horse, and I have bows on the foot. I'm going to fire the horse first. We got no walls or anything like that here. So, and we don't have to shoot the armored units first. So against Alvar, I don't care about his fucking serfs. So how many hits do I get with missiles against Alvar? I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if I expend my javelins. So I've got 8 shots, and I'm going to use the little markers here. Simply because when I've got the camera going, I'm not able to think as easily. These are going to be all against knights. Now, knights have a defensive value, we look it up, of 1 to 4. And I don't believe javelins are bonused against that. Yeah. All right. So 8 shots. 1. That's a hit. 2. 3. 4. Is this all he has now? 5. 6. I can roll them both together because there's 2 knights left. 7, 8. Both hit! He's down to serfs only. Wow, that's nasty. Okay. Now we go to the defender melee. Well, no, first we go to defending horse. He has no horse. Now we go to the attacking horse, where I have 4 African horse. Is that right? I thought there was some light horse there. And 2 sergeants. Okay. So, 2 sergeants are worth 1 each. African horse are only worth a half each, though. So, 2, 3, 4 hits now against Alvar. Alvar's doomed. Four hits against Alvar. Alvar has a serf. It routs. Right? It has no defense. Right. Okay. I can just take the serf off the board. Alvar has just routed. He's not gone from the game yet, but he might be. Okay. We go to the next lineup here, which is Almoravid, right? Up against Garcia. Garcia has no missiles. Almoravid has no missiles. Garcia has 3 horse, 1 of each flavor. Well, except for blue. He does not have blue horse. He has chocolate horse. Okay. So, what do we look at? Sergeant is worth 1. Knight is worth 2. That gives me 3 horse. These aren't knights, are they? No. So that's 3 damage so far. And a light horse brings me up to 3.5. So 4 damage coming to Almoravid. Almoravid, I kind of want to pick on his crap. I don't really have a choice though. So Almoravid is going to put his man-at-arms up first. One, 2. He's hit. I'm not going to go with the sergeant. I'm going to go with these 2. And I will just roll both dice for them. They need ones to survive. They do not get them. They're down. Now I get to come back with my horse. And the reason is that Garcia is going to get his infantry to attack first anyway. So I want to keep my horse alive. So my horse only gets me 2 shots on Garcia. Garcia is going to eat that with the knights, or with the knight, because they're 1 to 4. Oops. All right. Now, since we've already used our horse, we're going to take damage on the horse instead of on the infantry. So this is a 1 through 3, and that survives. Now we go down to the infantry. The defender has 2. 2. Now Almoravid gets nothing. I'll put the sergeant up, I guess. Oops. And the light horse. Light horse evades. Light horse evades. It's in combat. It's in. Yeah, I get an evasion of 1 to 3 because it's not a siege. Nope. Okay. Almoravid has routed. That's a round of combat gone. Now we look at the sequence for combat, which is going to be somewhere. New round. All losing lords must either... Yeah, we're not there yet. Ending a battle. Aside the concede... Yeah. Okay. So I would have had to concede the battle last round. Forgot about this. Yeah. To generate a pursuit. And what the pursuit would do is it would half the amount of hits that the Christians did to the Muslims. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm in very good position right here. Where would I retreat? Retreat to a single adjacent that has no enemy lords or enemy strongholds that are not already besieged. Withdraw to a side's friendly stronghold at that battle position. Yeah, so I don't have a way out of here. Because he's coming... Oh, this isn't sieged anymore. I don't have... I think I have a way out, though. Because defenders may not retreat along any part of the way that the attackers use to approach the locale. So the attackers are coming from here, so I'm not allowed to go here. These are enemy territory, right? Oh, we screwed something up. We brought Almoravid in. That's these 3 victory points. 1, 2, 3 shouldn't be there. Because this is no longer a parias. Once Almoravid came back, it turned it anti-Christian. So I have nowhere to run to, which this could mean the destruction of the entire Christian army, essentially. Wow. Well, that would be interesting. I mean, Toledo would be open in that case. I don't know about Cordoba because fucking Pedro's there. All right. So, Yusuf, I can bring Alfonso in. Alfonso the defender, he has no missiles. Yusuf still has 2 missile shots coming in from his bowmen. The Christians get to decide who they want to take the hits. I'm going to take them on Garcia, I guess. I don't know. I'll have Garcia's man-at-arms eat these. I don't know. Alfonso's likely to survive no matter what, right? Yeah. No, I'll have Garcia's man-at-arms take these hits. Not good. The next hit will be on the surf, which just dies, right? Right? Yeah. I'll just put some serfs out there to die. Hey, they eat a hit. They're not terrible, but they eat food, so, they're not great either. All right, that was the missile fire. Now we come to the horse, and the Christians get to go first here. So I have 2, 3.5, 4. 4 hits on Yusuf. Who does Yusuf want taking them? I don't know. I don't know. African foot or armored, militia or not. I'll take them on African foot, I guess. I'm not... Oh, I didn't get enough missiles. Did I? So I counted 2 missile shots. It should have been 4. Let me take two more shots at the Christians. Garcia, I guess he'll put the sergeant in the way. He was the one who got in the way. Not good. Garcia's just fucked. And now he's got his light horse, which I don't know if they evade. Guess I gotta look it up. Roll by hits, evade. Units with evade. Except that evade only applies against melee in battle, not missiles or hits in storm. Okay. Garcia's routed. So that was the missile fire. Now we get back. Alfonso gets to attack. He's got a strength of 3. And we're going to take this on our African foot, I guess. I don't know. Do we want to kill off militia? Yeah, let's take it on the militia. That's 1. That's 2. We'll take 1 on the foot. Okay. That thing eats too much anyway. All right. So that was Alfonso. I cheated. Alfonso should have only hit twice. This was horse attack. I forget that there's a separation. Okay, we go over to here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 hits on Alfonso. He's going to take it on his knight, I guess. Knights are good. Okay. That brings it to infantry. Alfonso has 1 shot on the infantry. I'm going to take this on the sergeant instead of the infantry, so I'll have to re-roll because I don't remember. Okay, we got us a sergeant. And now that huge amount of foot, but they're full strength. They're 1-pointers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shots. Well, the first one will be against the serf. I didn't want to take it in missile because he gets a first strike. I got to swap batteries. That means these knights have to take 7 hits. And by the way, these siege works, they're facing in. They don't help you against an attack from outside. You don't get a Caesar and Alesia type situation. So 7 shots on the knights. Well, here's 6. The knights get hit. Alfonso routes. The battle is over. Good stuff happens. Okay, what does the battle being over mean? The loser's not going to be able to retreat anywhere. He will be permanently eliminated. Every single one of them. Ouch. Because I can't retreat into here. These are enemy fortresses, right? I can retreat to a single one that no enemy lords or enemy strongholds that are not already besieged or bypassed. Yeah, there's nowhere I can go. All right, the entire Christian army has been wiped out. At this point, I'm saying, this sounds like a Muslim victory already. But it's not. Because Pedro and Sancho are still on the board. They keep the game running. It would be an automatic victory if I had knocked out truly knocked out the entire Christian army. So spoils. The lords on the losing side of the battle have to immediately transfer assets to lords on the winning side. The winning player distributes them as they like. Lords who were permanently removed or who retreated without having conceded the field transfer all their assets. If you conceded and retreated, you transfer all loot in a provender beyond which you could take without being laden, but keep your other assets. If you withdraw into a stronghold, you keep all your assets. So, what do we got here? Well, first of all, I can clear these out. We could roll dice to see if they survive, but it doesn't matter. The army has been wiped out. A conclusive result here. All right. So we get 2 mules, 3 carts, and 4 coin. Well, that's a lot of yummies. Of course, Yusuf's going to take all the coin. No question about that. Yusuf is sort of my more useful guy. So I kind of want to give him everything. I'm going to have multiples anyway. So let's give him 3 mules, 3 carts. One of the mules he had before. Oop. Those are carts. 3 mules, 3 carts. Because Almoravid is not in great shape here. And he got chased off the battlefield, so, you know. Let's see what his situation is. I'll clean those guys up in a bit. Let's see what his situation is. He has Sergeant Gray, Man-at-Arms Yellow. I can't tell. Okay, the Sergeant survives. Man-at-Arms does not. It's not the right day for garbage. Light Horse, Gray, Militia, Yellow. Get this back. They all go. So Almoravid's not in great shape. But note that none of the lords had any of their vassals out. So that makes good old Yusuf powerful. Speaking of which, he has some losses there. Oh, boy. Terrible, terrible. Okay. So now, what's next? We clear these. These are just gone from the game. So this Crusader is not gone, because he's an element, like, from a card. But I'll put these here. I'll put... That's Sancho. Ordonez. And Alfonso. That's gotta hurt. These are my 2 good leaders, Alfonso and Alvar. And I'll put them face down on the chair so I don't go pawing through to get them. And yeah, the Christians are in very, very bad shape indeed at this point. Yusuf has taken this. These guys are all dead. I will put them also in there. Oh, boy. And what does that do? Well, it's about to be a Christian turn, but not quite. So I had defensive terrain, but I had no missile firing. It's time for severed heads. Basically, the Muslims collected up all the heads after the major battle, which was nowhere near quite this defeat, but it was a massive defeat. The Christians had a place to retreat to, is basically what happened. So what do we got here? This was a Christian retreat or sacked for 2 lords or 4 jihad. I'm going to take the 4 jihad. Improving the lord, I have money I can do that with. That's not a big deal. But jihad is different. First of all, Jihad gives me direct victory points, not Ravage. But more importantly, it gives me locations. One. I don't think I can play it in Toledo. Not sure what would happen if I did. The Fort Jihad gets me 2 victory points. Let's take that first. And then let me look up where I can place these. I don't think I'm allowed to place it in Toledo and just take it for 3 Jihad markers. Add Jihad only in Reconquista and Praias Taifas. Only at strongholds, not at Christian conquered marker, or at a Christian seat marker, or at a Christian lord who is besieging. So I'm prevented because this was actually conquered, which is good, because otherwise 3 Jihads, hey, look, it's Taifa now, or an independent or something. I don't know what. So then the question is, where do I put others? There are cards which can remove Jihad, and this is really important to me. So I'm going to put 2 there. Maybe 3. Like, there's very little reason. Where can I put them? Okay, I can put them in Praias. If I'm going to conquer Toledo, I don't really want to have more there. So I will put others. I don't really want to put him near Sancho because he could conceivably take things. So I don't know. This guy kind of sucks, the Valencia guy. So I will put a Jihad in each of those. Those are now allied, sort of. They're pro-Muslim, for whatever that matters. I collected the points for them. I'm guaranteeing my way through here, which is important, which will allow me to get up to Toledo. Toledo is worth like 6 points if I take it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That puts the game real damn close, but I'd lose 1 for this. Yeah. Interesting. And I'm not sure this can go independent, even if I conquer that. Well, I got Cordoba in my way. I mean, yes, I could drive up this way, but there's not a lot of supply or anything in that direction. So I think I've got to deal with Cordoba first. At the very least, maybe end up coming in through Badajoz or something. So I'm not sure this is worth putting there. I'll put this down here. I'll leave 1 there, but it's not that big a deal for me to have access through there that I can tell. It's important, but it's not vital. We're on the Christian cards. Oh, look, it's Alfonso. He doesn't have a turn. And now it's Yusuf. What can Yusuf do? Well, Yusuf could feed. He should have fed last turn. I don't have enough food. This is a problem. Al-Mutamid eats 1, and Yusuf eats 2, but doesn't have enough, so he slides down. I'm going to pay a coin to slide him back up, because I didn't get any loot or anything like that. Yeah. Wow. That sucked. Yeah, so Yusuf has a problem. He is in a friendly stronghold. And really needs food. I'll grab 2 food. Another option I could take would be to play a card, move into here. That would be play the card that gives me +2. Move into here. Bypass it. That would leave me one. That would use up one of my movement. Use 3 additional movement to draw supply from back here. Actually, I might be able to get from there. Hold on. I've got a ton of transport here. I've got 6, 7, 8, 9 transport. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I could pull my food from there. So, not really sure I needed to provender. Yeah, I did. Well, I could play my card. Let's think about that. So 2 got me 2 provender, drawing from here. A third one would get me 1 more. I'm short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is unfortunate. 14, 15, 16. Okay, never mind. Although I wouldn't have to feed the mules. Yeah, this is unfortunate. Like that's a bad number. I'm like 1 short of being able to have gone down to 2 food, and then I could just kill mules if I needed to. But yeah, it's not an option. What I was thinking about here was using. I think this 2 jihad has to be added. Playing Taifa. I think it would have to be in that Taifa. I don't know. This is the one. But this is only for a Taifa Lord, right? Yeah, this is only for a Taifa Lord. The wording is always kind of weird on these. They're very short, and sometimes it's not clear. So play to shift 2 Taifa Lords cylinder or service by 1 calendar box each, or for 1 to use lordship plus 2. For 1 what? Well, it's for 1 Taifa Lord, but yeah. It's very concise. If you're very careful, you can get them correct. But sometimes reading them, you're like, what do they really mean by this? It's like normally there would be more words in place. Okay, we're almost at the end. Oh, there go the severed heads. I'm glad I got to use them. Probably one of my favorite cards at this point. It's not the game end. It's not a growth, is it? It is a growth. If 40 days of spring, sides reduce enemy ravage markers to half. Okay, the Christians have to remove first. I don't see any enemy ravage markers. Then the Muslims get to remove, and we will get rid of. I don't know if we want to get rid of that. We will get rid of these 2, which gives another point off the Christians. Meaning, if I take Toledo, it's worth a lot more. The problem is, I don't think I have enough oomph to capture 2 cities. This turn just ended. There's only 4 more turns. It's hard to tell. Maybe I have battering rams or something like that for the Muslims. Repairs. Anywhere got siege markers? No. Wastage. Okay, the Christians. Pedro. Provender. Always get rid of Provender, man. And Sancho. Coming over here. Definite wastage. Abdullah. I got a lot of fucking mules. Let's get rid of a mule because I'm actually at ×2 feed there. It's not like I did anything with them. Got a lot of fucking mules. I need a lot of provender though. Oof. Let's get rid of a cart for him. And let's eat a mule. Over here. All right. And that will bring us to levy campaign, because Christians and Muslims can discard any art of war cards. If I was sitting on something I really wanted, like the battering ram, unfortunately I don't have an army anymore, I would toss it. Probably should have done that earlier. Would have been useful, but what do I got here? Typha marriage. This is a really cool capability. I can turn this to a 2-seat marker and be able to trace and get double supply from it. That's very potent, to tell you the truth. And I might want to throw the Typha marriage for that. This large supply adds 1 extra prov. In battle, play feigned retreat, spear wall, or... Oh, whenever you do a supply action, you get a bonus. Ooh, that's nice. This could add 2 jihad in a Typha. I'm going to play this. I am in a Typha. That doesn't help me. This isn't Parias. Yeah, I can't play any that I want. Oh, I got the battering ram here too. Okay. Battering ram goes over. I throw that out. What about these others? The extra supply for Yusuf. How useful is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Coming from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very useful. I don't think I need both of these. Not sure how much. Not sure how useful this card is. This may be no, to remove Conquered from empty town. I don't think I have to be in the town to play this. Yeah, I think that will be useful. I can go up into Toledo and grab some more jihad if things aren't going well. Otherwise, it's kind of just a break glass type of thing that may give me some capabilities that I want. But yeah, the Christians are fucked, man. All right, I think maybe we load this up. This was pretty fucking exciting. The Christian army was destroyed.